So, ladies and gentlemen, recently I did a podcast on an MGM science fiction movie, which I think is one of the most underrated of the 1970s, Soul Green. But MGM put out some very strong science fiction movies throughout the decade. Films like Logan's Run, which we'll be talking about in a future podcast. But today we're going to be talking about probably one of the most unique and underappreciated of the MGM, the last MGM science fiction glory decade, something called Rollerball. Now, we're not going to be talking about the what do you call it, foolish remake in recent memory. Now, the original is a science fiction sports film directed and produced by the great Canadian Norman Jewison. Now, in the movie, um, there's been a corporate takeover of the world and a representative team on Rollerball, which includes everything from roller derby, boxing, baseball, rugby, hurling, hockey, all the major sports is played on a roller rink, and basically uses rollerball to show how you can keep a population manipulated while celebrating the worst aspects of organized sports. Now, the screenplay was written by William Harrison, which was adapted from his own short story called Rollerball Murder, which had appeared in September 1973 issue of Esquire. And because this came out in 1975, it got really, really quick turnover. And now, although Rollerball had a pretty well American cast, we'll get into that in a second. It was released by United Artists, which was an MGM side group, and produced in London and Munich. Now, the cast probably as best you can for a movie like this with great music by the talented Andre Previn. James Caan, who was sort of like the poor man's Burt Reynolds at the time, great success, and The Godfather 1 and 2, plays the lead character Jonathan E., who is sort of like the Wayne Gretzky of the rollerball genre. Co-stars including John Houseman, who is the corporate owner of Houston, which is the main team that's featured. The beautiful, very beautiful Bond girl Maud Adams in a key part, and the very underrated character actor John Beck, who had excelled later on in Dallas, but also was when Sleeper Woody Allen. Very handsome, very underrated actor. Now, the plot is Johnson is the team captain, veteran star of the Houston team. Like I said, he's become the sport's more recognizable and talented player. And after the team has another great game, this time against Madrid, Bartholomew, the chairman of the Energy Corporation, which owns the team, announces that Jonathan will be featured in a multi-vision broadcast about his career. And this is hopes that it will lead to his retirement because Bartholomew believes, and the corporate people that also represent the other teams believe that Jonathan has gotten so large he cannot be controlled anymore. Now he offers Jonathan a lavish retirement package. He makes the announcement during the special, uh, and then tries to talk about the benefits of the corporate-run society and how you have to respect executive decisions. Now, he doesn't really explain why he should retire, but probably the demographics were showing that Jonathan couldn't be controlled, and when the the thing that's used to control the public in a near future cannot be controlled, that means the public cannot be controlled. Now, initially, Jonathan refuses and requests to see his former wife Ella, played by Maud Adams, who had been taken from him sometime earlier by a corporate executive who wanted her for himself. Now, suspicious of the retirement, Jonathan goes to a library and asks for books about the corporation and history and finds that history books have either been deleted or reassigned, as we say. Now, Rollerball, as the movie goes on, Rollerball was basically a non-fatal sport, but as the Houston Power Corporation tries to do it with collusion with the other team owners, becomes more and more fatal, and it comes down to a game at the end that has no penalties and no repercussions, which is sort of like showing how chaos in society can be controlled. Now, what I really like about rollerball, because not only announcing, you got hockey and football announcers to announce the game. The game of rollerball was specifically put together for the movie, and the rules are very simple, and people could probably play rollerball, even though the motorcycles would be hard to work on an oval track. Now, rollerball is played by two teams of 12 players each, nine roller skaters, three of the motorcyclists, three 20-minute periods, a steel ball with um, that they can put in these nets, and only the captain can carry the ball. Now, the ball must be held in plain view of all times, or else it dies and a new ball is fired, which is comparable to be having to see the rugby ball in play. Now, skaters may latch on their own team's motorcyclists to be told to gain momentum, and injured players are usually removed from the field by medics, and flesh players are substituted. Now, the rollerball interior sequences were filmed in Munich at the Rodia Selmayr Hall, and the hall was selected because the only sports arena in the world with a near circular profile which the production could take over and readdress. Now, to my knowledge, half of the movie, or two-fifths, is filmed in a rollerball rink and has all the excitement of like a hockey or a baseball game. And rollerball, like the way it's presented, I mean, James Caan is the perfect fit for Jonathan E. He's very charismatic, but he's also very suspicious. Now, the present music did really well, but at the box office it was kind of a slight bomb. Only made 6.2 million in rentals in New York, and Vincent Canby of the New York Times was unimpressed with the movie, and he basically criticized, saying that in a war where the world is taken over, this is what to use, and like it's a very depressing way to put it all together. Gene Siskel of the Chicago Times gave it 2 out of 4 stars, but TV Guide liked it. He said gave it 3 out of 4 because the performances of James Caan and Ralph Richardson, who plays the archive of the book that Caan is trying to find, um, and the rollerball sequences are fast paced and interesting. Now, some people criticizes James Caan's wooden performance in this movie. Me, I'm not criticizing it. That's just playing himself. Now, it it I still think it can it's considered probably a top 200 science fiction movie of all time. I know AFI's 100 Years, 100 Thrills was nominated, and the top AFI's top 10 was a nominated science fiction film. But for science fiction movies, again, it's Ivy Holder. I really enjoyed it. Big drive-in hit, big response in the public, and its cousins include Future Sport, which is kind of a TV movie in '98, and Death Race 2000. Now, if you're watching Rollerball, you got to understand Norman Jewison very rarely did science fiction. I think this is the major movie he ever did. The same Norman Jewison touches you see in The Heat of the Night is in Rollerball, and the uh, the characters are believable. The coaches, the players, the fans. The fans actually make it because the chant Johnson's name, similar you would hear like the old Josh Donaldson chant at Skydome, MVP, MVP. In 1975, you got to remember baseball wasn't to the level it is right now. There was no chanting in the crowds or music or whatever. Rollerball kind of led into the old lot of pro wrestling as well because all the characters were larger than life. The only scenes I was hoping for and I didn't see is the rollerball characters promoting products or talking about their sports cards or endorsements. I don't know if that was left on the cutting room floor. But John Beck, James Caan, John Houseman, some of the scenes in there, like I said, James Caan seems like a person who had believed in the system, but he basically was asked to give one thing away too much, and that was his ex-wife. And it also predicts a lot of the computerization you see now in relation to using computer editing and digital editing to present a story. And but there's some extraneous scenes like the scenes of the party goers shooting and burning living trees, like that's supposed to be a thought on what's going on. Like the rollerball championship wasn't enough. I would give this out of 10, 7.5 stars. It's a good weekend excursion, actually, in a Hollywood Suite. This month it's free. I would check it out. And like I said, if you were born in the 1960s, went to drive-in in the 1970s. Rollerball was a good double feature. That and Logan's Run, which we're going to talk about later on. But I'm very appreciative of the creators of this movie because they attempted to do something that was really only in people's minds for a couple of years between the article and the production. It was, Now I know James Caan is not everybody's cup of tea, but like later on with movies Thief and Alienation and Misery, like I said, poor man's Burt Reynolds. James Caan is a good actor, but he plays himself. He's not playing anybody else in here but James Caan, which means the receding hairline, the kind of half handsome, the kind of Steve McQueen meets Henry Fonda kind of distant acting style, and for Rollerball it works. But what you should check out as well is the Mad Magazine version of Rollerball, the parody. That's better than the movie because it takes all the cheesy aspects of Rollerball and you see it in artwork form. You could probably see it on Mad Magazine Archive or some of the reprints through years. So on this COVID Friday, we wish everybody a great weekend. We know it's holiday weekend in Canada. Some places are opening up. Be careful, be safe. And as usual, if you like my podcast, please subscribe, give a like, give a comment. If you like it, tell your friends. And if you don't like it, as we like to say in the drive-in that carried Rollerball in the 1970s, Bayview Drive-In. If you like it, tell your friends. If you don't like it, don't tell nobody. Have a good day. Bye.